Good evening. It's Monday night all over again, and welcome to a fresh conversation. We have with us this evening Ms. Francois, who is a relationship focused talk show host and with a comedic twist. And MSS stands for multi talented and super sexy. Thank you very much for being with us this evening, Ms. Francois. Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation is sponsored by Isla's Diamonds, LLC, Mrs. Lenora Terry, Mr. Milton McCulloch, who is the author of Love and Emancipation, and is brought to you by the 10th anniversary of the Fresh Book Festival will be held January 8th and 9th, virtually and internationally. So put those dates on your calendar. We are going to be connected to the London Black Book Festival. It's going to be a week, 2 days of a weekend to remember. That connection never could have happened unless we were in a pandemic, and we're really proud of being able to be with them this year. Special thanks to Taylor, my son, who gave us our tunes for a fresh conversation. Please silence your phones if you're on audio. If you have any questions for Ms. Francois, please put them in the chat box, and we are about to get started. Well, good evening, Miss Francois.
Good evening. Do you know I was
actually super and sexy? I love that.
Do you know I was actually nervous coming on here because I'm like, when I'm doing the interview, it's so much easier. But when I was like, oh Lord have mercy. How do people do it when they come on my show? Because I
hate to be interviewed. I interview people all the time, and when they say, "Oh, Donna, can I interview you?" I'm like, "Oh, blah, blah, blah." You sure you want to interview me? Yeah, it's different when you're on the other side of the table here. So please tell our audience all about who you are.
Okay, so I'll try to make it as short as possible, but I'm so fabulous.
An hour. Take your time.
So my name is Patrice Francois. As you said, I'm multi-talented and super sexy, MSS Francois. I was born in Trinidad and Tobago. I came to the United States in my late teens. And as most immigrants do, they have, issues coming from one country to the next and trying to find where you fit in and the culture shock and all these different things. But I always like to say, even though we all have our issues, I get to say that after all of that, I have 2 master's degrees, one in human resources. Yeah, I'm amazing and sexy, brains and beauty. One in human resources and one in business administration. I also, in order to have the show that I have now, I'm a certified studio producer and a field producer. And I'm a writer, producer, speaker, and I call myself an entertainer. Some people say I'm a comedian, but I always say I respect comedians because not everyone could stand up in front of a room and tell jokes. I do more like comedic monologues. So I call them sometimes speeches that so happen to be funny, but not a comedian. And one of the best things that I love doing is volunteering. I tend to volunteer with a lot of organization has to do with kids. I don't do adults. I'm like, adults could figure it out themselves. That's their problem. But kids, they're the future. So I work with like organization like World Vision, Fordham Kiwanis, Aim High, and stuff like that.
So tell us about your show.
Oh, well, let me tell you, girl. Yeah. The Miss Francois show it's a 30 minutes talk show. We have candid conversations. I have a lot of entertainment. A lot of times I have comedians in the first 5 minutes because I want it to be funny. I want people to relax. Sometimes I have singers, but we mix the entertainer with the talk. And the main purpose of the show is I use humor to help others with the dysfunctional relationships. But at the same time, I'm helping myself. So it really started because I wanted to help myself. And it's so funny how things do get started. It's not like I said, oh, I want to be a TV host because I want to be seen on TV. I mean, a face like this, I should be on TV, but that's not how it started. In 2016, I won this humorous speech competition for Toastmasters, for those who know Toastmasters. And it was a speech called Steve Harvey Cannot Find Me a Man.
Cannot find you a man.
Find you, exactly. Because the whole purpose was you're reading all these books that if he can't find me a man, then who can, right? So with that, the following year, which was 2017, I took that, it was just a 5 to 7 minute speech, and I made it into a 1 hour one woman show called Frustrated. And again, it's all about being frustrated. Can't find a man, you find a man and you have 100 issues, right? Which we all have faced. And it's so funny how things just keep transpiring and keep moving forward. The following year, which was 2018, a friend of mine came to, I work in a financial institution at the same time, and he came on a day that I was down, and he's like, okay. And he's like my mentor. His name is M.Gray-Banks. So he's like my mentor, and he asked me a question that a lot of people get asked, but we really don't think about. He's like, if you had all the money in the world and life was great, what would you be doing? So I was like, I would have a talk show like Carol Burnett.
Carol Burnett?
Yes. And then he goes, who is Carol Burnett? I was like, you're disrespectful. I'm not that old. But I used to watch Carol Burnett. I used to watch Carol, because what I like about Carol Burnett, she was funny, but she had skits. And that was the aspects that I had. Because even in my show, when I say entertainment, I do like little small skits in the beginning, then go into the talk. So with that, he kind of hooked me up with, I went to like Lehman's College, found out more about producing. And I still didn't know what I wanted to do. What made me decide what I wanted to do? Around the time of graduation for the class, my friend was going through a bad breakup. She found her husband, mistress, hiding in the bathroom, right?
Oh my Jesus.
You should see it. So, because when she found her husband, mistress, hiding in her bathroom, of course, she's devastated. She was married for over 20 years. And I told her, I said, you want to tell your story? I have to, like for graduation, they want me to film something. So I'm like, just come tell your story. No one will ever see it. And I get to pass my class. The good news is, when she ended up telling her story, I actually end up using it as the first show, and they accepted it. And from then on, I have a TV show, and it just evolved as time passed on, and I changed it up a bit. But it even though we were talking about her husband, she finding her husband mistress in the bathroom, I made it funny, because I was like, what she look like? She looked good. Was her breast nice? You need to find out if he cheated on you with this person, she better come good. You can't be getting cheated on and then she ain't looking good. So I made it, instead of us being sad and devastated, we see the humor in everything. And right now she's actually engaged to be married to someone else, and she's happy. Wow. So it's really good, right?
So she actually, I don't know that I could have done that, but when you asked her to do it, she had no hesitation?
Right. Remember the first time when we were doing it, she was fine. She was like, yeah, it was like, it's been like a few months. So she, after you've been through the devastating part, you start to feel empowered and whatever, you got herself. Like, yeah, I have no problem. Plus she's helping me. And in the beginning, remember, it wasn't supposed to be seen. It was my class project to graduate. And it ended up being my pilot. And isn't that crazy? So that's my first episode. So I always tell people that's my first episode. So I always tell her she could come back on the show, because that was 2018 I started the show. And I said, no, you could come back on the show, because now you get to say you have she's going to get married next month. So it worked out well.
I always tell the people that I work with to turn your pain into paper. And so what you did was turn your pain into TV.
Right. So I always say I turn my pain into purpose.
It's purpose. Your pain is purpose. And so please give us 5 things you think we should know in the beginning. 5 things that you should do in the beginning of a relationship.
So I always say, let me have a disclaimer. First of all, I ain't got no man. Right. All right. So I ain't gonna be giving you no set of fancy. This is what you need to do. If I ain't got no man and you ain't got no man, how am I supposed to help you, right?
Well, I mean, I think that if your experiences help.
Right. So this is what I'm gonna say. So I know all the stuff that I have done that didn't work out. So that's
good knowledge.
So one of the first things I always say is, know what you want. A lot of us don't know what we want. We think we know what we want. Sometimes we write all these little cartoon people we think we want them to be 6 feet. Like, we're looking at the wrong things. So we need to know what we want. Find out exactly what kind of man you want. A supportive man, you do your research. Don't just say you want a man, because you'll end up with something you don't want, because I end up with a few of those, okay? The second thing is, I got this from my friend. Like, when you start a relationship, she always says, she is into the Bible and stuff like that, protect your heart. Because a lot of times when we start anything in any kind of relationship, we could talk to the guy for one day. As soon as we talk to the guy have a nice smile, we decide how the kid's gonna look, where we're gonna live. We start to paint the picket fence, and then we start to put too much of ourselves into it because we're emotional creatures. So protect your heart, relax, pause, right? And number 3, I would say, actually take the time to get to know the person. You know, when you go out on a first date, everything, again, we always know first dates, we meet our representative. That's the time you make sure you shower, you brush your teeth, you comb your hair, all the time we're home, in bed and showering days. But you're going out, you're putting your best foot forward, you can't even walk in the heels, but you put the heels on, right? So we get all excited and we're all into, we in the clouds, right? And we're not taking the time, we're not, getting to know the person. And that's one thing I think most of us, we just jump in stuff with all the excitement and we don't pace ourselves and take our time. This is a lesson for me as well for everyone else, because I don't mind telling my business. Sometimes I like to jump in bed before I have conversation. And we all have done it. I don't care how much church you went to, somebody had a one-night stand, and then after the one-night stand, you expect the man to commit. What's the purpose? Why would he do that? So let's try to have some conversation before before we jump into bed. Okay, let me write that down for myself.
Conversation before sex. Okay.
And number 5, right? A lot of the times when we're with the person is one thing. The guy or the girl is showing themselves in a certain light. We need to see how they react around friends and family. And there's a lot of things we definitely don't do. You don't know the person. We don't know if they get along with the mom. Because one thing my mother tells me is make sure he loves his mother. We don't want a mama's boy, but make sure he loves his mom. We need to see how he interact with his friends and family, and and how they love him, how they interact with him. You don't want someone that all the family hates him, something's definitely wrong, and you need to start running. So all these are things, is not typical, but from my perspective, the things I've been to, oh my God, that's why I'm still single.
Christine has a question. Christine?
Oh Lord, it better be an easy question.
Hello, my loving daughter.
That's my mom.
That's your mom?
Yes.
Hi, Mom. How are you? That is so sweet. Don't embarrass your daughter now. She's going
this man.
www, World Wide Web. So, keep it going.
What you said? What you said?
What do you say, Mom?
How long could she wait to find this Mr. Right?
Oh, she said, how long you going to wait?
Well, at the point where I am, I think I'm waiting for an arranged marriage. That might work out better for me right now.
I believe you. I believe you.
Well, let's not poo-poo arranged marriages. A lot of them work.
I know. That's why I'm being serious.
Some of them have worked. Right, exactly.
Right, because sometimes someone else could choose something they know you actually choose better than you could choose for yourself. So definitely, I know a few people and it actually have worked.
So top 5 things. Go ahead, Mom. Sorry, go ahead.
She never want me to choose for her. I trying to choose for her, but she don't want me to choose for her. If she let me, you'll see how it will work.
Well, Mom, we kind of grow up and think we can do it all by ourselves. But I'm sure she's ready to pivot, and she will take your advice at this point. Because what we've all done hasn't worked.
Right.
And if my mother was still here, I would definitely be asking her, okay.
Right.
Your turn.
Tell her.
So the top 5 things. Don't jump in bed first. Have a conversation. Right?
Okay.
What were the other thing? What were the other 4 things?
Okay, first is know what you want.
What you want.
2, protect your heart. Take time to get to know the person. More conversation, less bed.
No bed. No bed.
We're going to mute you in a minute.
Exactly. And number 5, see how the person reacts with family and friends.
Okay. Well, you know what, though? The family and friends thing, let's talk about that a minute.
Yeah.
So I was a daddy's girl. Most of us are, right? And so nobody would have been good enough right? No, absolutely no one. So who is your, who would you think your your barometer would be in your family to say, okay, this guy is good, or, you know, you should carry on? Who is that person for you?
Okay, so first of all, is according to who I look to. My mom, no, because my dad, no. That's the two people is a total no.
Right.
Because parents is always be parents.
This just doesn't work, right?
Right. So I tend to take my advice from other people, but I call it, like, is my mentor. Like, one is my ex-manager that I used to work with. You know, she's older. You know, she been through certain things, and when someone talk to you, you don't want anyone like bringing you down. They're supposed to be, they not even giving you advice. They're giving you A and B and still allowing you to choose, or allowing you to think for yourself. Sometimes when people talk to you, it's like they shouldn't be talking at you and telling you what to do. So whoever you're talking to get your advice from, it will be someone sometimes it's good to listen what the person is telling you and just repeat it. And sometimes when you repeat it and you hear someone else repeat it, you can actually make a better decision and take and, you know, choose and decide for yourself. So that's one thing, like my ex-manager, she does for me. She just lays all the cards out and then make me, you know, make my own decision at the same time.
Do you have a male barometer?
A male? Oh, a mentor?
A male, yeah.
He was the one that told me to play golf.
Okay.
So I have my friend Quentin. He's married with 5 kids.
I think
so
he's on that line tonight.
Yes. So he's someone that does give me a lot of advice, because again, 5 kids and a wife, he has to be doing something right.
Right, exactly. In a long-term relationship.
Right. So he's someone that I would say more invest in my mind, and he's a very good listener, and that's what a lot of people don't realize. Whoever you're talking to, you need more of a listener. You don't need someone trying to get back at you and talk over you. You need someone to listen, and Quentin is definitely someone that listens.
I think that's in the last couple of years, that's the best information I've gotten, to listen, to comprehend, and not respond.
Exactly. And it's hard.
You don't have to respond to everything.
Yes.
Sometimes you just have to listen, right?
Yes.
All right, up next, 5 things that you should do to maintain a relationship.
Well, obviously, I shouldn't even have one.
But listen, but you have, we all have what I call fields of expertise, regardless of whether they stick or not, right? Because I consider myself Teflon, nothing sticks. But I do have a field of expertise of being out and about and in relationships. So, you know, just because you're not in one doesn't mean you don't have the ability to spread knowledge about what to do, you know, in your sphere. So 5 things you do to maintain a relationship. And at some point you did maintain a relationship, you're just not in one now.
That's true. Girl, you should be my conscience. You're beautiful. Make me feel extra special. So I would say the first thing would be communication. And I don't want people to just take that word lightly, because there's good communication and there's bad communication. Just like we say with the listening. If you're not listening, then you're not communicating, right? So definitely the first thing is communicating, listen to each other, respect each other's responses, and try to have more of an understanding, right? Number 2, I would say, be patient. And why I say that is because Miss Francois have no patience. I want what I want. I want it yesterday. This is exactly how I want it, and I don't want to hear your opinion, and I really don't care. So I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress. And that's why at least I could be honest. So number 2 is definitely patience. Number 3, it would have to be along the lines of just like a mentor or a counselor. When you're in a relationship, I believe you need some counseling, some therapy, because it's always good to have that neutral person that can listen to both sides. So a lot of people don't like that interference, but believe me, if both people keep going back and forth and you don't have the patient, they can't communicate, you need that neutral party. So to me, get a counselor, regardless if you go to church or wherever, but you need that other person at times to be able to speak, you know, and be able to communicate to each other like a medium.
Is this like, wait, let me just back up.
Yeah.
Is this when you're first meeting someone you think you ought to go to?
This is something.
Like you're in the relationship.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But again, relationships is going to have an ups and downs. And to me, that's something you should definitely have in your relationship. It would have helped me a lot.
Understood, yeah.
4, stop asking your friends. Your friends now. Just now. Anytime you think about it, now. Why? A lot of the times, the friends is worse off than you and trying to give you information. What are they giving you information for? And I always say, sometimes you're looking at that person thinking, oh, their relationship is so awesome. You don't know what happens when that person closes the door and go inside. So stop listening to your friends, please. They don't have no degree in anything. No. And if it's your friend, if you're having issues, most of the time we are a reflection of our friends or the 5 friends, whatever the case might be. So if you don't know, how is she gonna know? Right? And number 5, one thing I think a lot of women, we have all done. As soon as we have an issue in relationships.
What this does is wife beats him.
See why I'm going to keep him? Number 5 is don't withhold sex. And that's mostly for the females because men, they're not withholding sex. But a lot of times relationships goes downhill from them because women try to hold sex as a weapon. Like, I'm not going to give you anything. To me, you're opening up yourself for problems. You know, so that's number 5, I would say. See, if you would communicate, you wouldn't be holding back the sex. So don't hold back the sex, otherwise you're looking for issues. Like Steve Harvey had said once, he said, if you decide to hold back the sex, make sure it's not more than 24 hours.
Right. Right.
So to me,
I think that's important. I don't think you should use sex or your children.
Yeah, and people use it all the time.
Because it just doesn't work, first of all. Right? It just doesn't work. So listen.
Yes.
Patience is something that we're going to try to manifest through the universe. We're going to ask for universal help. Therapy, you think, now listen, let me talk about therapy. The problem I have with therapy is it's in this area that I live in, it's very, very hard to find a therapist that looks like me. And I'm not real comfortable going to a therapist that doesn't look like me. What's your feeling about that?
No, I understand that because I did have a relationship therapist at one point, and the 2 things that I wanted a female. I wanted one that looked like me, and I wanted one that believed in God. And that's my preference. Everyone is different. So you should get someone that you're comfortable with. It didn't make sense going to someone you're not comfortable with. And I wasn't comfortable with someone that didn't believe in God. You know, because I don't. So that's what I would say. And I totally understand that. But why would you go with someone that you're not going to be comfortable? You're not going to be able to express yourself and say what's exactly, you know, you're feeling. You want that person. You don't want them to end up being your friend, but you want it to be in a space where you can say what you need to say and be comfortable with that person.
So you have this perfect relationship and you say, you know, but we have these little nuances that we really need to talk to somebody about. And he says, I'm not talking to anybody.
And then you said, that's why I didn't want to marry you in the first place. I don't know why I waste my time. I should have gone with John. He was sexier anyway. You see why the communication. But you see, that comes back to communicating though. And again, it's how you say things. You don't want someone to be like, I think we should go to therapy. And we women, and I'm saying that because that's something I would say. I mean, again, if 2 people are aligned and you communicate it and you have the reasoning behind it, and then you could start slow. Even if sometimes I always say, even if the person is not ready to go, maybe you go. Maybe you can learn some new tricks and stuff like that. And when he see you adjusting or making changes, that's an example that he's looking at. He might say, oh, my wife is even 10 times more amazing than before. Maybe let me go and see what it is that she's been doing with the therapist. So even if they don't want to go initially, you just still go for yourself, because at the same time in the relationship, you're working on yourself as well as you're working together.
Let's not talk about being married. Let's talk about maintaining a relationship to lead to marriage.
Okay.
Would you consider therapy before marriage?
Oh, hell yeah. That's it. Yes.
Right?
No, definitely, because sometimes, again, in the beginning, everything seems happy and everybody is wonderful and everybody is happy. And it's until you definitely get into it, then you start, it's just like, hopefully we talk like the pandemic and stuff, then you start to look at this person across the room and like, I don't really like you. I love you, but I don't really like you. So definitely, you never know, this therapist or counselor or church pastor or whatever could bring up certain things and ask certain questions and see how each other would be able to deal with it if certain situation were to arise. Because again, relationship is still ongoing. There are going to be issues along the way. It's going to be happy times and it's going to be not so good times. So we definitely, there are different things people could tell you that when the problem do arise later on, you'll be able to adjust even easier and faster than if you didn't get the counseling or the therapy or the pastor or whatever you choose to go to.
That was a form of therapy for you though, right?
Oh, if I did not have that show, Lord, I would have been in prison.
The other 5 things that you talk about: listening, patience, therapy, don't talk to your friends, and
don't withhold sex.
Don't withhold sex.
Mm-hmm.
Which one of those 5 things do you think you did during the your relationship that was I shouldn't have done that?
Yeah, the patience. 120%. I have no patience because I'm the kind of person, if I tell you you should text me in the morning, every morning, I don't wait 2 days. But by the time it's 9 o'clock, you should have texted me already. So that's so I'm very like overly structured and have all these rules for how my relationship's supposed to be. He's supposed to text me at 9. He's supposed to text me lunches at 12:30. He's supposed to text me at 12:31. So, and I have no patience. What I tell you to do, you're supposed to do. Oh Lord, now you see why I'm single, right? You see why I need therapy?
Well, I just think it's more of I don't think it's therapy. I think you just need to have a closer communicative relationship, right?
Wait, who giving the advice? You giving the advice? I giving the advice?
No. I'm just saying, I think that's good.
Yeah.
Because I can go days and then decide, I haven't talked to him. Maybe I should call. And
my goodness.
Worse. I think that's worse, right?
Right. And everybody is different. You know, some people need certain things more than other people. Right.
You don't pick up the phone enough. I mean, and everybody who's single here, I don't know, except for Quentin and anybody else who's single, I think it's important that you do initiate, phone calls and text messages. I think it's important, but I'm not really good at that. So everybody has their nuances, right?
Right, of course.
You expect it and you want it, and it's good. Right.
Exactly.
So how do you approach the person when you say, listen, I need to hear from you because that's part of my DNA, right? I need to know that you're thinking about me during the day. And how do you bring that up like right away? Is that?
So you're not supposed to bring it up right away because, and I tell you, that's what I've learned. Because I'm the kind of person that when I do meet you, this is what I want and this is how I want it. If you can't give it to me, you should let me know now because I have other things to do. That's not the way. Okay. It hasn't been working, but we should this is where the patients also come in. We need to give the person time. With 2 new people meeting, they need to adjust. They need to learn each other. And, as time go on, when you see certain things, as time go on and you get to know each other, you could communicate exactly what you need. And it will go over so much more easy and smoother than doing what Miss Francois does. That gets no results. Again, 1 day at a time.
Hey, Mom, did you have another question or is your hand?
Oh, Lord, no.
You can't ignore your mom. Did you have another question, Mom? Did you have a question, Mom? No? I think she's okay. We're gonna let her go. That's too funny. It's wonderful that you still have your mother,
I love my mom. I have my mom and my dad.
Oh, that is, yeah.
Yeah, I have my dad's face and my mom's body.
Yeah, that's a blessing. Most of us don't have both of our parents.
Yeah.
So, okay, so 5 more things. Now, Give us 5 things we should do, male or female, to get over a relationship.
No, this I can specialize in. Because I've had to get over a lot of relationships that didn't go my way or how I hope it would have gone. The first thing I like to tell people is clean house. And people is like, well, my house is clean already. I'm like, no, it's not. I said, because every night you go to bed, you're smelling his t-shirt, you're looking at the side of the bed that he rolled over, you're reading the card that he got you and reminiscing. So sometimes when you keep seeing the stuff, the memory is still there. So I say clean house. But again, there's different ways you could do this, right? I always say, first thing, you could text him or email him to come pick up some of the stuff, because some of the stuff what I'm about to do with it, you don't want him to call police on you. So make sure you give him the opportunity to come get his stuff. If you don't want to get it, fine. And if you notice, I said text or email, because I don't want you picking up the phone to calling him, because you know what happens when you call someone? You start to reminisce again. So email or text. He don't come pick it up, you need to donate it, you need to toss it, you need to burn it, but you need to find. But I made money off of mine because I sold some of my stuff. So it's
burn everything.
So I always tell people you need to clean house. You need to, a fresh new start. So don't because otherwise you're gonna keep going backwards. So
you think it goes for males and females?
It does. Because it's the same thing. The guy and when a man does fall in love, they fall hard. Women, we fall in love every week. Men fall in love once or twice. So, no, they definitely need to party. You don't need to be looking at the pictures 24 hours a day. And I understand in the beginning, certain things you might want to hold on to, but even if you hold on to it, put it far away, maybe in a storage room somewhere, because later on, even if you go back and look, at least you separate yourself from it. So you definitely need to clean house. That's definitely number one. Right? And number two, I like to call it church, but for other people, it could mean different things. So it's more of a cleansing or spiritual connection. For me, I need to talk to God, right? Because I say it's only 2 things help me get past a relationship is time and God. So you need to, I need to talk to God. God, why? God, how? God, whatever. Because it's like that's part of the healing process. To get it, you need to bawl and scream. That definitely God. Because I always tell people during that time is mostly 2 people you reach for. Because anytime you're in any issues or any crisis, you go, Lord God, right? Or you go, Mommy. So Mommy can help you sometimes. So I said, I tell people, if you don't believe in God and church, that's fine. But you could do meditation, you could do yoga. It's more trying to get at peace with yourself. So that's definitely number 2, but I like calling it church. Number 3, link up with your friends. And I like to make sure I tell people, not the kind of friend that will take you out drinking, not the kind of friend will be like, you're living your best life, and then you end up sleeping with someone you can't remember the name the next day. Don't hang out with those friends, right? You need to be sober. And I don't want to hang out
with all my friends. No, I'm kidding.
So be careful of the friends you're linking up with. You need the friends that are going to empower you. They need the friends going to say positive things to you. And anything that you plan, you're going to hang out with these friends, make it be more of a fun group. It don't have to be the bar. You don't have to wear something where all your titties exposed. Like, calm it down. You need some decent friends that actually thinking about you, and that the fact that when you get up the next morning, you can remember everything you do the night before. Right? So just be conscious of the friends that you're hanging out with. Number 4, passion project. That's what I call it, right? And that is a lot of times when we're in relationships, especially women, we're catering to the man. We're cooking the meal. We want to make sure we're the best thing under the sun. We're helping him with his goals and his dreams and his job. And we forget all about ourselves. And if you have kids, that's even worse. But right now, we're just talking about you and him. Or him and her, whatever. You tend to forget about yourself, and you put yourself somewhere number 5 on the list. So this is a time for you to, regardless if you wanted to sing, you were sewing, you had something you was working on, you had a business you want to start. This is something you need to start, doing. And it's all about yourself. It's partly like personal development at the same time. So I always say at that point in time, if you need to read certain books or listen to certain motivational stuff to get your mind right, because these things do help, go back in time when you were doing something that made you happy and start it back. Some people used to write poetry, they stopped writing poetry. So it's just something that would help you, get back in tune to what you love doing, and just think about yourself, basically. And the last thing is volunteer. Even though we did the passion project and we were thinking about ourselves, why not try to help somebody less fortunate? And it could be something simple. Like, people always think when you volunteer, they always think, oh, I got to dig in my pocket for money. It shouldn't be anything like that. I had this thing doing where I said, like helping other people. And it could be something as buying someone lunch at work. Could be putting money in a meter for someone. Sometimes when you do something for someone else, it makes you feel better, and it takes the focus off of you and it focuses somewhere else. So sometimes, I can't remember what it is I said I call it, but it's just doing for something.
Paying it forward.
Right, paying it forward and volunteering your time. Because even before COVID, I like I said, I like volunteering. And when you go, regardless if it's a soup kitchen, even if you collect something for someone, even your next door neighbor, sometimes they need something, you could just ask. And even though you're helping someone else, you feel so much better that you were able to help someone. So that's something someone should consider doing. Stop focusing on yourself that much and your pain and your stress, and then just help someone else. And that's the 5.
Quite a few gentlemen on the call this evening. So if you have any tips for us, please come to the chat room, because it's from a different perspective about how you guys get over a relationship, or what you think is important in a relationship. Sometimes we don't have your side, right? We don't have their side of the equation. So if you have something you want us to know, please put it in the chat room. Now, what elements of recovery from a breakup are the hardest?
Well, I ain't gonna have 5. I just have 1.
Okay.
You know what it is? When you're in a relationship, again, it's you and someone else. Is that comfort level? Is that person being there? Sometimes you're in a routine and you have certain habits. You know how hard it is to get up with someone and maybe you make breakfast for 2 people, or you're accustomed coming home and that person being there, and all of a sudden, instead of two parties, is 1. So for me, the hardest thing is filling that void, filling that person who you're accustomed getting a text, a phone call, that person telling you I love you, and then now it's just you. So just adjusting to that, to me, is the hardest thing. And we need.
Do you think that's because when you're in a relationship, you tend to focus on that relationship only, and you don't still give time to your friends, your family, and other opportunities out there?
No, that's definitely a huge part of it. I mean, when I have a man, I like my friends, but I'm all in my man and my relationship. I don't know you, whatever. But as soon as the relationship ends, we run back to the friend, right? But no, definitely, because this is, and honestly, to a part, that should be part of it, because you're starting. This is a whole new life. Like, if you think with the Bible, 2 people come together and they start their own life. So your friend should obviously understand you won't be spending as much time as them and with them, so forth and so on. So now you start a whole new life. And this is your life now, and all of a sudden, in a blink of an eye, you're by yourself. And like someone actually mentioned, is now you have to start over. Like, where do you start? And that's why you have to pause, do some of the 5 things I mentioned, to start back more working on you. Because a lot of times people tend to jump back into something to ease the pain or not think about it, but that's actually hurting the new person, and you're hurting yourself in the long run. So sometimes you need to take that time.
Let's talk about the pleasure principle of men, right? That wasn't one of your questions, and you
That's fine.
Answer it if you don't want to. So let's talk about how a man has a need cycle, right? His sexual need cycle. And you, in your dating history, have you had a problem with not being able to meet a man's sexual cycle? And what do you do about that?
Okay, since you're using all the fancy words or whatever, so to see if I could keep up with his stamina, that's what you're trying to
correct.
and I'm like cycle and cycle. I'm like he has menstrual cycle too. I'm confused. Well, I always somebody don't like me to mention this, but I mention it anyway. So I had one of my last ex, he ended up going to prostitutes, right? And the funny thing is, anytime I mention this to a guy, right, he always go, "Oh, you wasn't doing your part." Mind you, they're not focused on regardless he went to prostitutes. They're focused on, "Oh, you wasn't doing your part." And I can tell you, I was doing my part. But again, for what people forget, for whatever reason, people have their own reason. People have their own demons and all things they're dealing with, you know? So it mightn't be the fact that I wasn't giving up 25 times a day, but maybe other things factored into why he needed to go out there. But me personally, I have skills. My mom and dad, they did a good job. Thank God I don't have a problem talking about this with them. No, I got skills. I could put my leg really high up and stuff like that. I exercise. They have to be able to keep up with me.
Well, and sometimes in the relationship issues that our girlfriends have, and we talk about that, is that when you have someone who, you know, wants to bang you before work or, you know, at lunchtime and when you get home, and sometimes you you really don't have the stamina to put up with it. But I just wondered what were you at your skill level, right? So
yes.
What is it that you did? That you just do it and not necessarily have to enjoy it?
No, we women know we just do it. You lie down there, you fake up few and you let him feel like he's a man, and then you go and you go eat something, or you go cook, or you go do whatever. I mean, to me personally, for a long period of time, I believe sex is a job. It's like a job. Sometimes you like your job and you can't wait to get to work, and sometimes you don't want to go to work, right? So, so you do what needs be. Because I'm not going to go tell you, well, you know, you need to do this and you need to eat this. And I'm not going to tell you that. At the end of the day, we're all human. We're not going to be in the mood all the time. But at the same time, you don't want to be like, no, I'm never in the mood. Then you're asking for trouble.
Right.
Right.
You also mentioned purpose, passion, and procrastination. Let's talk about procrastination.
As in what sense?
Wait a minute. Someone said,
oh God, I can't.
What? Okay. You guys gotta be censored.
That's my people.
Every time people stuff in the street about an incurable STD.
That's why I love my people. I always have support.
Let's talk about procrastination. What did you mean by that? I saw that in
procrastination in what sense?
I don't know. You said purpose, passion, and procrastination when it comes to relationships. What does that mean?
No, I don't think that's me, but let me see. You sure that's me? I'm pretty, because I know I saw that when you wrote it, I'm like, what is she talking about?
I read that somewhere. Well, let's talk about it. Procrastination when it comes to relationships. Do we procrastinate in knowing when to say when?
Oh, like in each other, like talking and stuff, like
when to end it.
When you go, oh hell yeah, we procrastinate. Why would I want to give up my comfort and who I know and this person and a lot of times when you thinking about ending a relationship, you keep thinking of all this stuff you're gonna lose instead of thinking of stuff you could possibly gain, and that's easy. If you've been with someone for a year or 2 years, this is what you know. This is what you expect. This is what you understand. So it's very hard to say all of a sudden, oh, I don't think this is working. And even when you fully come to terms with maybe you think it's not working and you supposedly end it, ladies, half the time you end it on Monday and you're still with the person for the next 2-3 months, claiming it ended. It's hard. It's definitely hard. That's something, just like anything in life, that's a serious decision you have to fully make and fully stick to whatever you decide to do. And again, we come back to, we are human. It sounds easy, but it's not easy. And this is when you do need your friends and family around you to help support you.
Do you believe in the relationships that you had that you procrastinated in most of them and getting
Oh,
to them?
really? I stayed 7 years. He was cheating morning, noon, and night. He cheat on Sunday. He cheat on the 8th day of the week. He cheat on the 32nd day in the month. And I was still there. Because and at that when I was younger, so my attitude was I made an investment, I should get returns. If I put money in the bank, I want interest. I don't want my same money back. But in that, I should not have stayed that long, because if I had left earlier, I could have put my money in a different bank. But what I'm gonna do? It's already, at least I learned from it, right? Look, I'm on your show because I learned from it, right?
Yeah, and you learn from it, but what was that more painful than anything else? The cheating? Or is there something else that was even more painful than that?
That was like the first, like the love of my life. We all have the love of our life. That the cheating, yeah, that's painful, but feeling like part of you, like someone literally, like when people say you have heartbreak, that's something that's real, because you can literally feel your heart hurting, your stomach, the funny feeling in your head, you can't eat, you feel, you have all these different feelings. So to me, just separating from that person is very hurtful, especially when in your mind you already planned out your future, and you plan out the kids, you plan out the wedding, and all of a sudden this disappears. So it's not, I always say it's just not one thing that hurts. It's and that's how it even comes to you breaking up. It's a few things that has to happen along the way, and finally there comes a breaking point that you're like, I can't do this anymore.
Do you think we have a hard time bringing up the conversation?
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead.
Right, but because I think about it, how exactly do you bring this conversation up? And a lot of time when conversations like this come up, it's going to turn into an argument, and who deals with that? And again, when you're arguing, no one's listening. And now when you're arguing, no one's listening, it might end up being worse than if you could actually, because there have been people who break up and it's been civil because the people still communicate and they both realize certain things not working, and maybe they decide to go their separate ways. But in that sense, people just, it's just something hard to do.
So Mint Condition has a song that says, "There's nothing left to say." Have you ever ended a relationship just with nothing left to say?
Yeah, I just block him. Oh, it's exhausting. I was exhausted. Sometimes you ever felt, and again, I always, my thing, even though this is men and women, just talking to women, sometimes you talk, you break it down, you use coloring books, you paint it, and the person just choose not to listen or choose not to hear your side. I literally, I'm like, my friends literally tell me I need to stop doing that. I'm like, I'm exhausted, block. And in my mind, you died. And if you died, therefore, how I'm going to have a conversation with you? I don't need to waste my time. But you see how 1 minute I could stay 7 years, and next minute I could stay 6 months. And I think with experience and age too plays a factor. It's just, you just don't want to deal with certain things anymore. Who you talking to? You see what this look like? Bye.
Just block.
Yeah, block them.
No conversation. and so once the relationship is over, you've blocked that person. You don't really even want to know why it is it didn't work. You don't.
No. And this is what some people get caught up with. A lot of us females, again, we always need closure. We need closure. And I get it. Right? And at some point along my line, I got it. But at the same time, you've been in the relationship 2 years, 3 years, whatever the case might be. You honestly know at the end of the day, what closure exactly do you need? You need him to tell him, hey, you're ugly, you look uglier now, I don't want to, like, what do you need for some? And then if you get these supposed sentences, does it really give you closure? You're still going to deal with hurt and pain. So I again, to each his own. But I'm like, I hear when people say closure, like, what are you talking about?
Have you ended a relationship and then woke up one morning and he was in your bed?
That's normal. What are you talking about? I'm like, this is not a hard question. I ended up in his bed, but same thing, right? Yeah, because again, and this is the same thing I said, when you decide to end a relationship, make sure you're really ending it. Because again, one of the things that I like to say is that we women, we're gonna call our girlfriends. Yeah, I'm so glad I broke up with him. I'm amazing. I don't need to be with him. Oh my God, I'm doing these things, and they're still sleeping with the man. Like, and who you're lying to, your friends, or you're lying to yourself, right? And you know, people do that because they don't want to feel embarrassed, because the guy might have done a bunch of stuff, embarrassed them or whatever, yet they're still running back. It could be because it's good dick, or it's just you're lonely. Because a lot of times we are lonely, and then you go back to the ex because it's easier, because it's something you at least know. Because sometimes
not familiar.
Right. Yeah. So, and it's harder to go forward and, you know, meet that person and start this. That stuff is a whole long set of boring stuff to start all over, when you could just go up the street, up the block. Okay, he don't live that close, but if he did, I might have some issues. But to just go back to the familiar.
So is there anything that we did not discuss that you want the audience to know?
One thing during this whole relationship journey, like when I had mentioned in the beginning that I won the humorous contest with Steve Harvey Can't Find Me a Man, around that time I was reading a lot of relationship books, right? And I read Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man. I'm like, okay, I'm a Steve Harvey student. I'm going to follow all the rules. I'm going to do the 60 days, all this stuff. Then I read, for instance, the 5 love languages. Or then I read Why Men Marry Bitches. And I'm like, okay, I got to be more of a bitch. So my thing is, with all these relationship books we're reading or whatever, one size do not fit all. We cannot take one book and say, this is the Bible. It only have one Bible, right? But we can't, one size doesn't fit all. You could read a bunch of books. To me, at the end of the day, you have your own mind. Maybe you could take something from Steve Harvey, take something from that book and whatever, and still make your own decision at the end of the day. We always, so whatever is hip right now, we tend to want to be hip. So if this particular book is hip and everyone is reading it, we're like, that must be the way to go. So one size don't fit all, and find out what works for you. And the only way that could work is you honestly focusing on yourself, personal development, getting to know what you like, what you want to do, loving yourself, and then the man would follow. I wish I could take some of this good advice from my damn self.
So the question is, now that you know what your 5 things that you should do, the patience part, what are you going to do to try to make that better going into 2021?
Okay, so one thing I've decided to do, and this is the simplest thing you could possibly do. Before if someone asks me something, a question or whatever, the number one thing I need to do, all I got to do is pause. I don't pause. I react so quickly that if I would pause and take it in, I would be married next week. But that's one thing I definitely been working on, in the pausing, you know, and with that just comes with more listening, you know, and hearing the other person out. So that's what I'm definitely working on. Listen
to comprehend, not to respond.
Yeah, so don't throw it in my face, but thanks, yes.
So that was for me. Like, you know, I've always been told that I respond too quickly. Listen first, and then kind of soak it in and then respond. So any questions for MSS? Multi-talented, sexy, super sexy.
Exactly.
All right, so then I will ask you for a pearl of wisdom.
A pearl of wisdom. One thing that I've discovered about myself that it took me a while is that we are all one of a kind. I'm unique, because sometimes we like to match ourselves with, okay, she has longer hair, or she has longer legs, or she's more pretty, or she's smarter. Like, we're all one of a kind. And what we need to do is definitely just love ourselves for who we are, and we could accomplish and do anything we put our minds to, and we desire to have, and we desire to do. So that's something also, again, all the stuff with my show and all the stuff, I've continually worked on myself. And that's one thing I've definitely realized, that I am special. And once I realize I'm special, obviously whoever I end up with would obviously know I'm special and I'm unique, and we need to value ourselves first before loving someone else. Oh my God, I sound super intelligent.
Yay!
Someone's supposed to see this and say that is what he wants.
So tell us how to see your show or hear your show And Tony and I want to know when the book is coming.
Oh, so the book is in an editing because it's like my book is like a journal. It's let the beep go, right? So whatever word you want to put in there, let the beep go. That's up to you. However frustrated you feel, just shout it out, right? Basically, journaling your way to getting out the emotional heartbreak, right? So it's gonna just have steps for you to help you to get over that breakup. So right now it's in the editing phase, but I want to definitely get it out before the end of the year. So it's going to have a lot of fun things in there. Going to have fun exercises. And again, nothing I do is boring. So you're going to be laughing throughout the whole journal and you're going to be having fun. You might cry a little because, again, we're human. But at the end of the day, you're going to, at the end of the journal, it's like just starting all over. It's like when you take a good, nice, deep breath and you exhale, that's what my journal is going to be doing. So that's going to be coming soon before the end of the year. And in order to see the Miss Francois show, first of all social media, if you think about it, from the Instagram to the YouTube to the Facebook, you could find me everywhere. To the website, www.missfrancois. See, you're right there, right? So I'm everywhere. I'm in 22 Caribbean countries because I'm Trinidadian. I have to make sure I show up there first. I'm in the tri-state area and different community channels. But once you check the website, you'll get all that information.
Well, thank you very much. If there are no questions, I appreciate you being on the show. The book festival is virtual and international, the 8th and 9th of January, if you're ready.
I'll be ready by then.
I invite you to do a 15-minute segment. Just let me know, kind of where you are by mid-December.
Okay.
We can go forward to that. Thank you, everybody, for being on the show this evening. I want to let you know that next week will be Mr. Gary Cooper, and his book is called Shadow Dancing. He is the gentleman who came home and found his wife with another woman. So it's kind of a flip switch story.
Oh, he needs to be on the show.
The other way around. So he's going to give us his in-depth conversation about how all that happened and how he feels. So thank you very much. Thank you, MSS. I appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you.
You be on the show. Mom, if you're not asleep, thank you very much for being on the show. And thank you, everyone. I hope to see you next week.
Bye. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye.